click, click. Folks, that's how I start the episodes. I think I did that one of the earlier episodes. Oh boy, what a great day so far. Getting a lot done. I went on a run today. What else did I do? I recorded an episode already. Built out kind of a fun conversation around why data structure and algorithm interviews are broken. Go check it out, episode 30, if you haven't seen it in the Code Chronicles. It's Pags, your lovely host. I'm back, folks. You might be asking, wow, what lovely wine glass you have there, sir. That is awfully clear wine. Is that a white wine? Is that some sort of high quality refreshment, you might say? And to which I would respond, absolutely, it's a high quality refreshment. But it's not wine, folks. This is water straight out of an AquaTrue. My buddy Joseph has been on it. He's been trying to get me on it for so long, and I finally got onto it. So just a classy establishment here. You know what it is? It's a water filtering system that it goes through. Let's see, 3 filters of water. Let's see. So AquaTrue. The idea is it takes out all the nastiness. If there's any nastiness in the water system, if there's any lead, if there's any 4-stage reverse osmosis in there, so it removes any sort of what else is it like birth control that gets left over in the sewage systems. That's something that happens with women who consume birth control. They urinate it out, they piss it out. So it actually gets in our sewage systems a little bit, and this is one way to kind of clean some of the water. So not an advertisement, not a sponsor, but that is what it is. And you could do an under the sink reverse osmosis for $300. You just drill a hole through your sink and tap that into your water line. But I just have one of these cooler things. Not this one exactly. Where's the one I have? I think this is the one I have. But anyway, that's neither here nor there, guys. It's the Code Chronicles. We are back at it. That's the one I do have. But we are back at it. Leapfrogging off of yesterday's thing. Again, I've got my software engineering program in the description below for $2 a day. One day you will too have your own AquaTrue. Could you imagine if that was the actual advertisement? That'd be amazing. But I do have my software engineering course, and it is $2 a day. And obviously it's not the most content in the world right now, because I have to build the YouTube channel to start advertising for it. But end of the day, I love building software, and ultimately I do want to land on an educational system where, 1, I'm embellishing my own skill sets, but then 2, I'm offloading and teaching, and I can do it in an actual sustainable financial way. So that is the ultimate goal with the software engineering course. If you want to support me, that is a huge way to support me. It's going to be that teachable link in the description below. And of course, if not, just sit back, enjoy what I can do here. You know, I think this has been very fruitful content as well. So, but either way, I hope there's value out there for you, or opportunity for value. If software engineering is your stick, which more than likely, if you're watching this, it probably is. So thank you for watching, because we are growing quick. But yeah, folks. So let's leapfrog off of yesterday's episode. Instead of having a huge podcast bit, I just offloaded some interesting left field stuff. I'm trying to kind of keep these podcasts and things, or these podcast Code Chronicle episodes, kind of interesting, one way or another, beyond the code, which I find really interesting personally. But gosh, that's just perfect, refreshing. And you know what's amazing about this is it's like if I want more, I just go back there, get more. You know, it's like having infinite geyser, like a beautiful, perfect water spring in your backyard. You know, literally perfect. So, but health and well-being is very important for me. make sure the mind's thinking clear and as clear as possible. But anyway, so yesterday's or today's earlier episode, I should say. What was it about? It was about linking this project completion component. Gosh, what a tongue twister. Linking this project completion component with the Kanban page. So we built this little toggle switch on these columns, and really we can change it. We can change it to the red line. We can change it to a drop down or something like of that nature. But basically this toggle switch, all it's indicating is that we are selecting this column to be our what's it called? Why are we not getting the green? I feel like we should have had the green thing. Let me also turn the audio up just a smidge so I can lean back a little bit more and you guys can still hear my voice clearly. Turn the microphone, the cardioid pattern up. But yeah, so the idea is we want some indicator to let us know that this column is being selected, and this is going to be the column that we use to measure if tasks are completed when we move task to this column. So it's a double thing in today's episode. I think we want to clean up some of this because we have like 4 functionalities here that are just kind of dirtying up our columns, if you will. Again, I still don't understand why we're not getting a green background when we toggle these columns. There they are. So it's that, and then should be handle toggled is toggled. I see. Is there an issue here potentially? Thought we configured this issue. Was that? Yep. So is toggled green. It should be making these backgrounds green, right? Ultimately. But for some reason we are not seeing that happen. So we are going to do the original way. We used ChatGPT, of course, on this, which I did have a bit of a frustrating thing earlier talking about ChatGPT and data structure and algorithm code questions, because it's really just such a golly. I mean, I don't want to get into it again, but maybe and I've thought about it. Went on a run, so it's like maybe I was a little bit bitter that it didn't go the way I wanted. Who knows? But I just can't help but feel like, I don't know, I feel like software engineering should probably change a bit because of this new advent of new tools, right? So I imagine we're going to see teams become more streamlined and smaller versus having the big teams that they've been traditionally. So but anyway, that's a whole other conversation. That's in the last episode. We're in a different episode, different series. This one's about water, folks. Come on, health. You know what I mean? We're on a different thing today. So it is really good, though. I'll be honest. Joseph has he's led me right on this. He truly has. He truly, sir, I commend you for that. And for whatever and maybe it is the water I'm drinking, maybe it's a placebo, but I've been feeling really good for like the last 2-3 days. I've just been having a little bit more pep in the step, a little more like clarity of thought. Maybe it's not a ton, but just like enough where I don't know if it's a placebo. It easily could be, like 100%. I am not denying it, but even if it's a placebo, it's working. So I'm perfectly there for it. Anyway, guys, let's get back to this. So what was the trouble that we were doing? Oh, the task store. I remember we couldn't get this fully configured when we switched one of these switches. We were just trying to push the column name into it. So what do we want to do? Maybe we want to build the drop down and kind of clean up these functionalities, because it's kind of ugly seeing this number, this X for the delete, and then this toggle for like, this is how we're going to measure project completions, and then this arrow for the column state orientation. So I kind of want to bundle all 4 of these up and put them into a into their own component, a dropdown. So let's remove this done column that was just letting us know which column was selected. So we'll get back to that functionality here in a sec, but I do want to clean up the ultimate looking at these 4 functions. It's a little hideous for a talented front end developer. You know, that's so either I'm going to change something or question if I'm talented. You know, and that's a rough space to be in. That's a rough space to be in. Oh, so we have a dropdown, but that's a different dropdown. This is going to be a popover, excuse me, not a dropdown. Base popover.tsx. Let's get our template. Now, popovers are really interesting because they need to be well, maybe not all that, maybe not in this situation because we can actually just have the popover go into the column. But you want to check for the quadrant of where the popover should pop into, right? So if you can divide a screen into, you know, one quadrant top left, one quadrant top right, one quadrant bottom right, and one bottom left. The reason is depending on if we were to, let's say, click on this popover, let's say it's right here and our screen's like this, and we click on it, the popover should come out this way or this way, right? One of those two. But if we're on the other side of the screen, if we click the popover here, let's say it's like a 3-dot icon or something, some popover switch, it should pop out this way. So, and likewise, if you have a scroll thing, right, which I don't think we do have, but if you scroll, you want the popover to either go up or down depending on where you're at scrolling. So that is one for like a higher popover, but I think today we are just going to get a let's see, rounded XL. Actually, we'll do 2XL. Padding, we'll go 6. Width, I don't even know. Children will go there. Nice. React node, folks. Boom. There we go. Okay, so popover. I think we're going to need state. Say is open, right? Const is popover poppin'. You know what I mean? We'll say is open. We'll be semi-mature about it, right? Set popover poppin' or open. And this will be is popover poppin', true or false. Initially it'll be false, right? So we're gonna have a similar thing to our modal. It's gonna be almost a watered down, pun intended, watered down version of a modal. So the base modal, if we look at it, we have a trigger. We have kind of something like this, right? Where, in fact, we'll probably steal that trigger. In fact, let's steal that trigger. So let me pull in a few things from there. We're going to need the ellipse icon, looks like, to make this trigger work. And we don't want to handle open. We actually don't need button chose and all that shenanigans. We can just leave it there. So this won't be handle open modal. This will just be set popover open to the opposite of is popover open. And this right here will wrap in an object here just like that. Say boom boom, is the popover open? If the popover open, or if the popover is open, show the children. And what we also may want to integrate is there's a click away. Oh, that's for Vue. I forgot. There's a Vue 3 click away library. I'm sure React has one where if you click off of anything but the div that you've called to be the click div or the non-click away div, it'll click off that div. So somewhere in the base modal, right, how we have this like background fixed thing that closes the modal, this like background area. This is all to close the modal. That's something we handmade, right? But there is a click away library, and I'm sure there is one for React, where if you just basically declare that this is the thing that you can click, and it automatically magically, I don't know how, but automatically knows anything else you click on the DOM, boom, close that thing. So it's a really powerful thing, but we'll either hand make this or consider looking for one of those libraries, one of those two. But let's just make sure this thing is popping. The popover's popping, right? Puns intended. Import base popover. I already love this episode. Base popover, perfect. Okay, so we have a lot of stuff to wrap in there. So this is gonna go here, I believe. And let's see. So if we click it, boom. Looks like we do have some configurations that we want to do. Base popover. Maybe we don't want to do background gray, but we actually want to do background primary. I think that's the color. Boom. Okay, so, and you can see how it's taking space up on the DOM. We don't want that. We want it to just pop over below. So I guess technically would be shaped like this, but either or, tomato, tomato. We want to have a div. This is going to be a relative div. What relative does when we have an absolute position within the relative, maybe I could do a little lesson here. So here's relative. Let's ignore our popover and the button. Let's just build out a box. Background red 500. We'll say padding 10. So this should just be a square box here, just like that. So relative at this point has done nothing. And if we say inner box, class name here, we have inner bod, that'll work. We'll make this one background blue. It'll be background, instead of padding 10, we'll do padding 3, right? Or I guess you could see it, right? Either or. And what relative does, if we do absolute positioning without relative, it'll put the box wherever, right? Let's see. Well, I don't think it will in this case because we're doing it in another thing that has absolute positioning or relative positioning at some point in it. I know for a fact we do. So let's actually use a in-app layout. How about that? Because I don't think there's any, yeah, so we have relative positioning on the parent of what everything's being rendered through. So it's not going to be good for the demonstration I'm showing, but this will. So I'm going all the way up. I'm going all the way up, or at least a lot farther up. So components, popover, boom. And boom, here's our popover, right? Here. So it's off to the side, right? Huge thing, huge thing. Looks terrible, right? Over here on the left. We can ignore these base column ones for now. And what the base or what absolute positioning does in a base popover, let's take a look at it. We can now say like right 0, and it should just throw this thing all the way to the right. Yep, all the way over here. That's where our thing is. So it has no borders. It has no boundaries. If we say bottom 0, it'll be like way down here, right? Or should. Whatever the height of, boom, there it is. Like in this bottom right corner, you can see it. Point is, when we do absolute positioning, if we don't have a relative parent element anywhere in the stack, you know, if we're like nesting elements on top of elements and nesting, and none of them have a relative position, the absolute position thing it'll have like freedom to do whatever on the DOM, which sometimes you want. For our modal here, we want that. We want this thing to be like, no, you're at the top of the stack. We don't want you to listen to any other elements. Boom. Right? But in something like this, where we want the popover to be relevant to the parent element, we do this thing called relative. And relative now says any children who are absolute positioned within this div, their boundaries are this div. So now if I say top 0 and right 0, it should only just go to the right topmost of this div. Right? Does that make sense? So if we say this div is width 390 pixels, the farthest this thing can go is only 390 pixels to the right. That's it. If we now say left 0, well, it was always going to go to the left, but if I say height 10, for instance, instead of, when we said bottom 0, it went way over here. If we say bottom 0 now, well, top and bottom is going to, yeah, do some stuff there. But when we say bottom 0, now it's only going to go this low. And if we say what we exactly did earlier was bottom 0 and right 0, it's only going to go right here. So that's just a little lesson on relative to the absolute child. Relative, it says, okay, your absolute position, previous to giving anything, you had no boundaries. You could do whatever you wanted. You could fly here, do this. But now when we say relative, boom, you now have these boundaries. So when you say top, it goes to the top of that boundary, left to the left of that, so on and so forth. I think you guys get it. So anyway, let's get back to our popover. Let's delete it out of the in-app layout. And let's pop it over here. Pun intended. So we have all of our stuff back. Boom, I'm going to uncomment it out. We've got our ellipse icon. We can get rid of the background red. And the reason why I just wanted to teach that lesson is because we're going to say relative. I don't need the height, that's fine, but we're going to say relative. The reason is this popover itself, and we also don't need the padding. We actually don't even need the width either. But we just want the popover to go absolutely positioned within this box, or at least start a corner by the box or something like that, right? So it's not popping up over here or on this div. If we click this one, it needs to be by its parent element. And the parent element is going to be pretty much this div right here. So wherever this word here is like roughly where we want the popover here. And we name the children here. So more items is what I'll say there. Boom. So that is us in a nutshell, and it looks like it's working great. We just have some Z indexing issues with the items there, but those won't be there anyway, so it really doesn't matter. But just in case, we'll do Z40. It should clear us up, and it does. And one other thing I'll do, just as like a little, you know, one of these. Oh shit. Uh-oh. No, we're getting a little wild, folks. I'm going to do a shadow 2XL. Shadow 2XL. So that'll just make... I like to do it on modals too. It's tough to see on a dark application. So maybe we'll have a light mode, but it looks good when you have an overlay and then a shadow on top, or things like this, like an element who's a popover, it has a shadow underneath. It just kind of gives it a little more depth, you know, a little more reasonability within the application. So anyways, let's build it out. Let's build it out. So we have our ellipse icon. That's kind of our trigger. And then here's actually where all of our content will exist in our popover. So I think this is roughly almost good to go. We might need to change the absolute positioning so it comes off the left corner, because I think we're going to put the ellipse icon in the right of this. So let's kind of plan for that. We have the base catalog deal right here. I think this is what we want to do. Okay, let me pull this in. And we're going to take these items, basically. These are going to be like our menu items, if you will. And even the delete one. And what else? Oh, and this one too. These are all going to go into like our menu, quote unquote. So here they kind of all are. Just perfect. Looks like we're having some still handle click issue, handle task all open. So that is not going to be there anymore. We are going to change that to be part of our chevron only. So we can boom, boom, boom. So we still have all of our functionality, right? You can still delete things and see how many tasks there are, and we'll obviously pretty them up. But now it's all contained within this popover. Now what we can do, because this is a bit of a custom popover, is build upon it, right? Add it to one of our template functions. Or we could build a component directly for base column popover where these look like menu items. Maybe there is a way to do that where we can map them through. Yeah, I think so. If we could pass them through as an array somehow. Let's let's see. So we have 4 different functionalities, but they all can look relatively similar on a thing. And let's go to the popover real quick. And we want to absolute position this. I believe we want to go to the left because we don't want it starting over here on the right. We want it, I believe, on the left, right? Let's see. Well, we don't have a ton of space, so could do is width full, right? With 1/2 even. Let's see, right 0. Well, that's kind of what we actually want, is just it to be properly coming from that angle. Yep, just like that. Okay. And maybe we can actually add some padding 8 here, make it a little wider. But we really don't need to, because what I'm envisioning now is these are going to be like list items, right? And each list item should kind of have its own, let's see, const popover list items. They should kind of have their own, what's it called? Their own, like text, their own text value, like number of tasks left, boom. You got 0 tasks left, delete action, right? There's your icon to delete. Select this column for measuring project completion. There you go. Control the column state, right? Like I want to verbalize these things so our users are happy. So maybe we'll say popover text value. Say number of tasks in this column, right? And then we could say template value. And I wonder if we could just pop in JSX right here. Just like this. That would be pretty badass. And if that's the case, then this is going to work. If that is the case, this is going to work. Remove column from Kanban. And that's going to be this one right here. Let's see. Boom. The reason why I'm doing it this way as well, folks, is because I can pass this into the popover and I don't need to recreate like base popover for Kanban page, base popover for settings page, base popover for... No, we could use the base popover and just literally decorate it as we want every time. You know what I mean? So, so we'll say add, use this column to measure project completion. That is a cool feature. I am super pumped on that one. The whole thing of it, to be honest, I think is really unique. Maybe it's been done multiple times before, but for me it feels novel. Base popover, and this will be our last button. And which one is this? Control column state. Control the column state. Boom. Okay, so now we can take all this, and we can always change the order of them. Like we probably want remove at the bottom, right? You know, use this column, number of tasks in the column. That seems like the appropriate kind of first one. Let me also make this not red anymore. That's just getting a little bit obnoxious. Oh, and let me zoom in, guys. Sorry about that. Sometimes I know it's a little bit little. So let's take our popover list items, and we can just pop this, pun intended, pop this in the popover. So boom, popover list items. We're gonna map to say, we'll say popover list item. That's fine. And really what this could be is we have our own like hoverable list thing, but I think we want the text value. Okay, let's see. Let's think how to do this. Popover text. I'm gonna say flex call. Well, no, it should already be that, right? So let's say unordered list. Haven't used one of these in forever. Say list item. And I want these to ultimately be, let's see, with full. No, we want with full down here, I believe. Boom. Well, that didn't do what we wanted. What about this? No. Okay. This is not going how I envisioned, folks. This is not going at all how I envisioned. Let's see. Key, unordered list, key. We'll say key goes down here on this item. And let me just wrap this section in a div. Because basically well, and we'll get there. We'll figure it out. But I've got this list item here. We'll say popover list item dot. If we say dot template value, will that just pop in all of our stuff there? You're kidding. Wow. Next is awesome. React is awesome. I did not know you could do this. That's incredible. That is absolutely incredible. Because we can store this elsewhere. Boom, it's done. Don't need to worry about it anymore. We're just focused on this template area, and even this we could store elsewhere. We could store all this elsewhere. Like we could literally say const popover content, right? Because I love this about React the most is this right here, and we can actually store this inside popover content. Because this is like Tailwind, but for like building your template. Popover list items, it should have it right there, and then we just literally pass this in here. And boom, should be all good to go. It should be the same deal. Okay, thank God, folks. I had to double check, make sure we were recording. Boom, so it's still our popover with all of our stuff here. Number of tasks. Looks like we can still edit it. Still adjust the column, and it's working. And I imagine we could delete it still. So that is pretty cool, folks. And then once we're done, we'll just close it up, add it to the template thing, and boom, bada bang. Boom, bada bang. So I'll put it here just to be part of our popover stuff. We'll always keep this closed because we don't really want to look at it very much right now. And let's figure this out. Let's figure out how to get this organized a little bit prettier. But this is like, you know what I mean, proper, because then template functions, I guess we can not do that, and then just you have all your functions right here. Our use effect, our life cycle, and our init thing, just a real basic thing. And here's ultimately our template, our base column. And these columns have a lot of action and functionality and stuff packed into them. And now it's like this really organized deal. You know, I feel good about it, at least. This stuff, I guess I don't feel good about. The reactivity thing, we still need to cross that bridge at some point. But for now, we aren't going to cross that bridge. We are going to build more. We're going to build more bridges, folks. You know what I feel like? Because I got so much water to blow. So much fresh water under the bridge. It's just water under the bridge, folks. It's water under the bridge at this point. Oh gosh, golly, I love these Code Chronicles. I look forward to doing these every day. I hope you guys know. I'm warming up to them. I'm getting better at them. I'm getting a little more authentic and genuine and talking about stuff and getting calibrated with it too. I don't want to talk about stuff in one way and be really hyper specific on stuff or whatnot, but I do want to have interesting conversations and interesting things and open the door for interesting dialogue, right? But I certainly don't want to be pig-headed. That is probably my greatest challenge, is being we were working in base popover. It's maybe a little too arrogant at times. Okay, so we have absolute with full. Let's see. We really just wanted to do with full up here and pretty much say justify end. I think with the ellipsis icon. That's pretty much all we wanted. Class name with full, justify end. I think that would still do it, right? Oh, we still need to flex. Duh. Yep, okay. So we could boom, pop down, pop over. Problem is, we do need this to be a little bit larger. Like the popover does need to be larger. So maybe this isn't relative. Maybe the popover's parent is relative. Let's see what that looks like if we can put relative on here, see if that helps us at all. Does a bit, does a ton actually. This is more so what I'm envisioning. This is what I can work with, right? So let's build for that, because all of these list items too that are so lovely built out here. Oh, not there. But these guys, they should all kind of have like a hover effect, right? Like a hover background. I forget what we're doing for our hover effects. Background secondary, right? So you can hover over them and kind of click them, and it should still activate the whole thing. I guess would be ideal if the click would go through to the whole thing, but I don't know how to do that with the template value. Maybe handle click. We can pop this here on click. Say template value. Would that kind of work? No. Sometimes you throw stuff at the wall, and sometimes it sticks, sometimes it misses, you know? Just slides down the wall like a nasty little skid mark on the wall. What's the saying? Throwing shit at the wall. Hey, why are your walls so brown? Okay. So let's see if I do write 0 on the parent of this. What would that do? What about write 0 back here? Because technically it would be nice. Okay, so that is what we're kind of vetting for. Little margin X. Let's see. So maybe it's not with full that we want to do, but something like that. That's exactly kind of the space I want it to take up. So margin top 4. See what that looks like. Boom. Okay. Number of tasks in column. Great. Use this to measure column project completion on, we'll say like on the dashboard page or something, a little more descriptive. Control the column states. Now I don't like it as much seeing it like this, to be honest. But let's maybe lighten it up a little and say text black maybe. Let's try to do something else maybe with these text values. I'm just something about it's not looking right. So however, we'll say text white, and we'll also do transition, so it's just not as jarring, right, if you will. Class name, cursor, pointer, guys. It's all about quality, right? Like that's my biggest thing with trying to build software is just trying to do the details, the tiny things that in all honesty, like probably a lot of people are like, whatever, like not the end of the world, but it's important, you know. It truly is important. Because I certainly don't know it all, right? But having that want to be better, that want to build out the details, to do the extra tiny work, I believe firmly is like, no, that is how you get better. That is exactly how you get better. So why is our popover so padded? We don't want padding 6. Let's do padding 4. Try that out. Chunk air loading. Okay. folks, that's a perfect excuse to get a little more of this refreshing, revitalizing drink. I feel like I'm slipping, and then all of a sudden, I take a little bit of this drink, you know, and this aqua true. It just like a double Boolean value makes me feel true, makes me feel perfect. Or excuse me, a double bang Boolean value. Right, folks. Boom. What is that? What is that? What is that? What is that, folks? Let's see. What is that value? Looks like it's nothing. Oh, that's because we're in the popover. It is true. It is true. And it's not just any true. It's aqua true, folks. Okay. Back to business. We have number of tasks in column, which I believe is working. So we have 3 right here. We just might want to style it just a little bit different. Maybe we don't want to do text small, but text red 600, I believe. So boom, does that do that? Maybe font bold. Probably not opacity anymore. Number of tasks in this column. Let's see. I wonder if we also want to do some sort of flex thing where these things are off to the right. Yep, just like that. Say justify between with full. So everything's off to the right side of as far as it can be. And we can even do something like this where say with 1/2 where it shrinks the text on the left side. Should shrink the text. Boom. So all these things are that's a little bit more what I'm envisioning. And maybe we don't have a hover effect as much because that's again a little jarring or something. A little hard to see. Kind of the application itself, I feel like we need to make some light and dark mode type thing. And maybe we don't even have the hover effect on here. But we actually have it on the template value, right? So the hover, maybe we could just do opacity 50, cursor pointer we already have. So transition and active scale 90, but I think all of these already have that kind of. Just boom. We're definitely gonna change this to a delete button too. Let's not do active scale. Let's just leave them to how they need to be. Cool. I think this is coming together great. And finally, I do think over here, maybe we want to do text small, font bold, right? Something like that. And control the column state. Use this to measure project completion. Set to measure project completion. Boom, bada bing. Folks, that's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. That's right. I am a front-end developer, folks. That's right, Dad. I told you. Gosh, I do miss working at Babson sometimes because we just had the most fun jokes and banter and so much fun, right? And we'd still get so much software built too. That was like the most incredible part. Was still out of all the jokes and banter, we'd still just crank outside. It reminds me of a lacrosse team I played on when I was a kid. It was a club team, right? So I used to play lacrosse like really, really competitively, or at least like really want to play lacrosse, right? Like it was my sport. It was the thing I did year round, just all the time, 24/7. And let's look for this delete task column modal. We're just going to switch the button that it is. I'm going to zoom out for a sec, folks. I'm sorry. I know sometimes people don't like that. I apologize, but I get so zoomed in. I need to zoom out. But so I was playing lacrosse, right? And this is exactly what the team at Babson reminded me of. So lacrosse, this team, it was called Colorado Wild. Super talented. It was taught by an MLL, Nate Watkins, an MLL player for the Colorado Outlaws. Like super talented, just talented athlete, right? Great guy. By the off chance, Nate, if you're watching, hope things are well. But it was the like funniest thing. Like we would show up to these tournaments in like Maryland and like New York or Baltimore or something, and we'd be this like ragtag Colorado team, just a bunch of kids who like had mismatching gloves. Like, so all these teams, they'd all have like the same exact uniform, same helmets, same gloves, all that stuff. And here we come by, like the only thing matching on us is our jerseys, but everything else is like like a bit of a ragtag team, a bit of a thrown together thing. And in some of these tournaments, we would just sweep and like clean kids out and do so phenomenal. Not all of them, there were some where certainly you could see some shortcomings, but there were some where we would just absolutely like dominate the competition. And it was like this funny thing of I don't know, in my mind I was like, dude, we're like a bunch of ragtag kids kind of, and still somehow making it all come together. And in a parallel experience, that's kind of how I felt at Babson, where it's like we were, not like crazy joking around and stuff, but at times it was like, how are we getting this much stuff done? Like this is phenomenal to me. So it was really interesting. It was really interesting to me, but I loved it. So this icon here might need to be changed. It looks like the chevron icon is not cutting it, right? Not a big deal. Not a big deal at all. Maybe instead of background secondary, we could do background white or something, right? Something like that. Oh, you know why? I think its opacity is really low. That would be why. Yep, let's not do that then. We'll say background. There's so many talented kids on that team too. It was amazing. So we do have a secondary background. Okay, that'll do. That's fine. Okay, I can do that. I can kind of do that. But let's just make it a little bit larger, all right? So 16, 16. I'm going to say 24, 24, 24. So hopefully it makes everything a bit larger, but did put the thing out of place. I still don't have any understanding of how this view box works. So, but I won't understand that today. Don't care to. Boom, that'll work. That'll do. That'll do, Charlie. Okay, so we at least have some organization of it. Again, I think the UI UX on that could definitely be streamlined, but at least oh, what is this? Opacity hover. Let's not do that then. Let's not do that. Yeah, no sir. Okay, perfect. So, and I still don't understand why it was all caps that one time earlier, but not our problem. Not today. Border dash B, let's see. Border dash B, let's see, right? We do have some rounding stuff on. Should it be here? Oh, rounded 2XL. It is here. Okay. Just rounded in the popover, not here. So that should be kind of our things here. Maybe if I say item center, might clean things up for us. Drop this guy down here. Looks about right. Number of tasks in this column. Okay, we can control the state and we can delete it. Okay. So that's at least roughly an okay thing to do. Now, the thing I want to do before wrapping up today's episode, let's see if index equals popover list items dot length -1, show this. or show this. And basically what the difference here is just going to be I don't want a border on the last one. That's it. Simple thing. So I just don't want a border down here. That's all that change was. Boom, and it's gone when the DOM updates. Looks great. So let's wrap this little popover content open for now. It looks like it's getting the job done of organization, cleaned up our whole thing. We have a feature-rich application. The thing I want to finalize, or at least make progress on, is going to be this thing, this guy right here. So whether we want to do set measure to complete project, or we want to ultimately take that out and then do the red line thing that we talked about in episode 30, I believe. Gosh, what a timeless investment, right? Timeless investment. Investing in your health, timeless. Priceless too, you know what I mean? That's a gift that keeps giving. So what was the issue? What was the issue that I was experiencing? That we were experiencing? So we are setting the task custom, the task column toggled, right? Base toggle. We were setting that toggle button, but it wasn't liking it. It wasn't liking something about it, right? Set toggled is toggled. That was just handling the state. But the task column name, right? Is this being passed into here? Oh, you know what? Why don't we do one of these? And we have a handle toggle e dot stop propagation, and we can do this. Maybe I could say e and how would one do this for event, right? Well, naturally, I'm just going to, oh, you know what it was though? It wasn't doing this. That wasn't the problem. The problem was the state. That's right. This wasn't even the issue. This was still working. The problem was the state. The state was getting updated whenever we went to the dashboard page. So this needs to be pushed into our schema. So task columns, right? We need task column selected maybe for completion or something like that. Task column selected for completion. For measuring completion, right? Something like that. For measuring completion. We'll call it a string value, I suppose. Boop, 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 boop. Get that guy way out there. Let's get this one out there too. Boom. Nice. Okay, so I believe we want, that's a big old string right there, a big old variable name, but task column selected for measuring completion. Could we streamline the name? Potentially we could streamline the name, or we can get the functionality working and worry about naming later. So I'm gonna do that. So let's npx Prisma generate, regenerate the contract. So now we have access to this, and it's going to be part of out of our columns. We haven't messed around with the endpoints in a bit, so let's go ahead and do that. That's going to be fun to do for this one. Hopefully you can sense a little bit of the sarcasm. It's going to say, okay, now we're going to have an error here, of course, because we're not passing one of those in of task column selected for measuring completion. What a ridiculous, what a ridiculous word, right? What a ridiculous naming, but I love it. So this column needs to be something where we pass it in to our database. But I feel like it's a different thing than the task column. So let's think about the task columns object for a second. So we have task columns name. So would all task columns need to know which task column is measuring for completion if the task columns are the ones measuring the task? I guess that kind of makes sense, yeah. Not a horrible structure. I do want to make it conditional or non-required, excuse me. I guess that would roughly make sense. That's not a terrible place to put it. Better than building a whole other model for it, right? But maybe the other model would be a new store, like a project store, and the project store can measure the completion of things. But I don't like separating the data because I feel like the data should be associated to task columns. But let me think for a sec if that could be a good idea. Because if we do have like a projects store, I guess projects would be the larger scope of task columns, which could be esteemable to say in the project scope, which task column is the one we're measuring the project completion by. Not opposed to it. I think either way seems okay to approach, right? Not opposed to it. But let's think how to do it, right? Guess now that I see it too, we can remove the base column number of tasks. In this column, this doesn't need parentheses around it, just a tiny thing. It can just be a number. And not only any number, but it can be a big number. It could be, oh goodness gracious. Say text 2XL, okay. And let's refresh the DOM. Let's get back to the more important thing, right? It's pondering this. So my one idea or thought or concern is going to be if we build this task column completion thing based on, I guess we could probably up that little toggle thing too. But if we're gonna build that completion object, right? My only concern, I guess what is my concern, right? What is my concern? What is my concern with it? I don't want it to be this thing where I have to keep track of it a ton, right? Where I have to keep track of it with all the other tasks. I want the task completed thing just to be part of its own like function where it's really easy to manage. Because it really should be. It's really just a string value that we're sending to the database saying this is the column that we're referencing our project completion by. And my thought is if we're querying for it and it has to be relational somehow, according to the Prisma schema, that's kind of my rough concern of it. So let's maybe try to build an endpoint where we can just fetch for this. But in order to do that, we're going to have to fetch the column ID. And we're going to have to pass that to the toggle ID function, the base toggle, right? Because this also isn't a base toggle, it's a base column toggle because it's associated to columns. And that is where we're getting a little bit more stickier with that decision, which isn't a big deal, but I just want to make sure that I'm building something thinking about this stuff through, where there's an opportunity. So do we have the column ID being passed in here? We do have the task column ID being passed down, so that's not, I guess, the biggest deal. Oh, but it's not the task ID that, well, we do need it for the endpoint though. Yeah, okay. Okay, I guess that seems to be potentially, let's see, task columns. Because it really does need to be its own service in a sense, right? Where it's going to have still CRUD operations because you're going to have to delete it out of the task column, measure for completion, index when we turn it off. Like when we turn a switch off, when we toggle a switch off, technically it's going to need to delete it out of that. But that's okay. That is a-okay, folks. That is a-okay. But maybe it's not. So maybe we do want to measure projects. Let me think about it for a sec. Okay, so if we did like model projects, let's just talk about this schema, right? Where, let me pull up in a Lucid chart. Lucid app, here we go. Oh, we don't need to do Lucid app. We do have it in that as well. So let's here we go. Here's where roughly we're at. Now, this is kind of the thing. So tasks have task columns associated with it, right? So task columns. And over here we have projects. And what projects are going to be this entire thing I'm building, right? So, and I don't mean from a personal standpoint of my project on this. That's the code Chronicles, right? That's me documenting building this product. But the project itself is you and a team, or me and a team, can sign into this, and you could build your own project that is irrelevant of someone else's project. And a project itself is going to have users. It's going to have tasks, right? It's going to have all these things. Users, tasks, and potentially teams, right? So that is what all bundles up to make a project. And the question is, when we're measuring the project data, when we're measuring project completion, which is this component here, do we want the task in the task columns? I feel like I'm answering my own question here by vocalizing it, by verbalizing it. But I guess it doesn't seem like we want to have the tasks handling the projects, or even statistics around the projects. It seems like the task will influence things around the projects. But sounds like the projects should probably monitor their own projection, their own trajectory, right? Their own completion. Sounds about right? But that's not how we're monitoring this currently. Because I do believe the project completion component, base project percentage, we are measuring the tasks from the entire thing. So let me zoom back in for you guys too. Sorry, not on that screen, on this one. So it's a tough thing. It's like, how do we think about this when this is pulling data from tasks, and then in the same breath I almost want to pull a new piece of data from a project piece of data, versus maybe if it could all come from the task store or the task database. Does that make more sense? Maybe it does, because then all these components are self-completing around tasks. Yeah, okay, let's try to build for that then. Let's try to do that. I feel like that might be the but let's think, what would projects even look like? Model a project. What would a project have? Well, it's probably gonna have a project ID. Let's think about that, right? Probably gonna have a project ID. What else is gonna have? It's gonna have tasks, right? So is it gonna have tasks, task statuses, users, and task columns, all of these things? And maybe there's an opportunity here even to make task columns to like task stats, right? Where we can track through an endpoint all the stats associated to the tasks. We say task stats ID or something right here, and I mean, I guess we can make it as convoluted as we want, right? But what's the simplest thing? So task stats completed, you know, task stats tasks completed, right? Maybe this is where we store this. You know, maybe that's what the project might need as a whole. So no, this feels like overcomplication. So let's go back to this setup where we're just going to query. Let's start there. Let's just query for this based on the column ID. And I think that'll get us where we need to go. So task, we'll say column selected for measure. That's just brutal. We'll say task stats. How about that? That's just brutal. We'll rename it to task stats, task column stats, right? Maybe that's all it needed to be. Task column stats, right? But that does make me feel like a model here would make more sense to. So yeah, okay, let's do that. So on the back end, it will have its own just place in data. Column stats ID. It will have its own place in data. Let's see, task column stats. Task column selected for stats. How about that? Boom. And we could say task column stats. So we're still going to have our own operations, right? And on the back end, that'll kind of compile everything. And we'll just compile it all in the task store. I think that makes the most sense. Because I could see us using the stats potentially for other places on what stats that an individual user contributed. So maybe it all will make sense, you know. Let's npx generate run. Boom. Okay. Task column. What was it? Task column stats don't exist until Prisma regenerates. So task column stats, right? Boom. And we'll say get task column stats. And I might sit on this and we might rethink this, right? But it seems like that's going to be an appropriately easy thing to do. So we can not have to completely convolute our objects. Task column stats, right? What did I? Oh, task column selected for stats. And then the ID. Task column. Say task column stats, right? Boom. Okay, so task column stats not found. It will say task column stats not found up here. Okay, so I think that's roughly compiled for our endpoints of what we need. Let's see. Let's figure it all out in the store, the task store. So we have task columns. What's the error here? Oh, we don't need this anymore. Thank God. Perfect. Okay, so that's good to go, guys. I got 10% battery on the phone, so I'm trying to cruise. I am trying to cruise. So we have task column selected. Did we build an endpoint for it? No, we just literally popped them in there. So let's build an endpoint for it. Async function get task column stats, right? Maybe we do passing column stats ID. But really, we should just pass in the name. I don't know if I'm thinking about this right, guys. I'm kind of cruising. Not necessarily liking the solution entirely. We'll do a try catch. Boom. But not hating it. Not superposed. Just think task stats. What do we have here? So let me think about it. What do we pass into the task column? It should just be not the stats, but the name, right? Because how are we storing the columns? We're posting it by the name, correct? So, and then we get the ID. We have the task column ID too. What if we could post it with the post column? Now I'm rethinking this. So what if we post task columns and we have the opportunity to select it as one of them, or even in the update task columns, we can send in, oh, that's task status, but update task columns. Maybe that's what we're actually missing is not this new schema thing, not some sort of tertiary stats around it and projects. Maybe we still need to focus just on this one, on task and ultimately task columns, these two things, right? Task statuses and task columns and this, then the other. Maybe that is simply updating the task status and I'm overcomplicating it, right? So that could be a possibility. Task column selected for stats. Yep. I think I like that because then when we update the column, I feel like we can make a lot more sense of it that way. Just through an update column post, right? So task column update. We have this. We need to maybe update, or would it be a put? I guess update task column. Okay, let's get ChatGPT. We haven't used our boy in a while. Can you build an update task column endpoint here? Let's see. Here is my Prisma schema. Boom. Working smarter, not harder, folks. Here is where I need it. Boom. Okay, so, and then while it's doing that, I can go to the task store. We can go ahead and pop this in. Update task column. This is ultimately where it's going to be, but it's an update. Boom. Let's see if it's done it proper-ish, kind of. Let's get out of our Prisma schema. Don't need it. And update task column. We're going to delete there. No problem. Update task column looks like we're querying for the ID out of the parameter int tag. If there's not a column ID, throw an error. We're also going to take the column name and this the new thing that we're adding, and looks like try to update it, and boom. Okay, so let's try to do that. Task column ID, but what else do I need? I need to pass in the name. Right, is that what we're doing for these? Yep, put functions. Okay. And we'll just console.error for right now. Keep it an easy endpoint for us. And in the payload, what else do we need? We need a few other things. What else do we need? We need more than the column ID. We're passing that in. We need, looks like these two things, the column name potentially, and this. So we're not receiving those things in our endpoint quite yet, but now we are. String and really these are kind of the same thing. Task selected for stats, but really it's not actually. Forgive me, because I guess you can have a column update their name without updating the stats. So That would make sense. Let's set this set column task toggled. And I guess we can also get that now from the columns. So here, let's delete this. Don't need that. But from task columns, folks, I might have to pop off before the battery gets crushed. Okay, so task columns, it should be returning that now. Okay, cool. So we have that on the front end. Looks like our endpoint is roughly put together. Yeah, this might be a build for another episode later. I can record and come back to it, no problem. I just don't want to lose what we have, because it's been a really fruitful episode. So with that being said, folks, I think we're, well, actually no, I hate not ending on an absolute W. You know what I mean? I hate it. So let's gun for it. Let's just keep the foot on the gas. Foot on the gas, folks. Base popover content. Let's find our content. Boom. Where's our endpoint? It's base toggle, I believe. Here's what we need. Base toggle. Okay. And instead of this, we don't have set column toggled. We're going to have update task column. And what do we need in our store? Folks, I got to zoom out a little. Sorry. We're cruising. We're going to have the column name get passed in. Column ID, it looks like, passed in. And other things. Oh, no. And my logic is breaking too. Okay, folks. Okay, so my recording software slowed down. We're going to wrap it up here then. Thank you, guys.